In a world where courage is measured by medals and the spotlight, one woman dares to fight in the shadows, breaking barriers, defying expectations, and redefining what it means to be a hero. This is the story of Avery Monroe, the sniper who became a legend not through fame, but through silent sacrifice. Are you ready to witness the legacy of the Silent Storm? If you're ready to dive into a journey of bravery, mystery, and unwavering strength, hit that subscribe button and join us. Don't miss a single moment of Avery Monroe's incredible story, a legacy forged in silence and shadow. The Nevada desert at dawn looks like a dead planet, dry earth cracking under boots, with dust swirling like smoke. Avery Monroe adjusts the scope of her sniper rifle, crouched in the dirt, steady hands betraying none of the chaos inside her. Her team, 6 men, all older, all skeptical, moves silently behind a ridge, 30 miles from any sign of civilization. Their mission is supposed to be simple: observe a suspected weapons drop, report back, stay hidden. But nothing about today feels right. Through the scope, Avery spots movement, shadows slipping between rock formations like wolves. Then, too late, the crack of a distant rifle. Their commanding officer, Lieutenant Harris, drops hard. Blood soaks his vest. The comms go dead. Panic begins to ripple through the squad. Incoming, someone shouts. Bullets rain like hail, kicking up dust and violent sprays. 2 of her teammates dive for cover, one screaming, another already motionless. Avery doesn't flinch. Training takes over. Breath in. Half exhale. Squeeze. A distant figure collapses. She doesn't stop to think. Doesn't have the luxury. She picks targets by movement alone, the glint of a scope, the twitch of a shoulder, the unnatural rhythm of boots on sand. The team looks to her now. The doubters. The ones who used to say things like, "You're good for a woman." Now they're shouting, "Where next, Monroe?" With cool precision, Avery directs them. She marks escape paths between rocks, calls for flanking fire. One by one, the enemy positions falter under her ruthless calculations. An hour later, the enemy is gone. The desert is silent except for the shallow breaths of survivors. 3 of her team are dead. The rest alive because of her. Back at base 2 days later, she stands before a row of commanders. Medics have bandaged her shoulder from a graze she never even noticed. Cameras flash. Someone pins the Silver Valor star to her uniform. Applause. Phrases like "the exemplary service" and "the unparalleled bravery" echo in the hall. But that night, alone in the barracks, the metal feels like dead weight on her chest. Victory feels hollow. She's lost brothers in arms, and worse, she knows this battle won't be her last. That's when she sees it. On her bunk, a package, old paper, the handwriting unmistakable. Her grandfather's hand, slanted and deliberate. "For when you're ready." Inside, a battered leather journal, pages yellowed, smells of old tobacco and dust. Written on the first page. A courage on the outside means nothing if you collapse on the inside. Avery sits on the edge of her bed, the applause of the generals still faint in her ears, and suddenly all she can hear is her heartbeat, steady and alone. The metal shines in the half-light, but it's the worn leather of the journal that feels real. And she knows whatever fight comes next won't be on any map. The secret within. The town hadn't changed. Same cracked sidewalks, same faded storefronts with letters peeling off the signs. The air smelled of wood smoke and rain, that autumn scent sharp with nostalgia and ache. But Avery felt like a stranger in her own skin here, too many deserts, too many nights with dirt caked in her teeth and gunpowder staining her palms. She stood outside her childhood home, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, Silver Valor star tucked in the bottom pocket like it didn't belong. The porch creaked under her boots. Somewhere deep inside, the little girl who used to run barefoot here had gone silent. Inside, it was quieter than she remembered. Dust motes drifted in slants of light through the old lace curtains. On the mantel, a single photo of her grandfather in uniform. Young, eyes sharp, shoulders squared, a man who had already learned how to carry guilt behind a smile. Avery sat at the worn kitchen table and opened the journal again, fingers running over the leather like it was alive. The entries were brutal, nothing like the polished stories he used to tell. March 19, 1969. 3rd village this week. Intel said they were armed. They weren't. They never are. Can't get the smell off my hands. The entries blurred together, ambushes, betrayals, operations no one ever spoke of. But it was the last page that felt like a blade pressed to her throat. I was part of Silent Storm. No patches. No medals. Only debts. One day they will come for you. Be stronger than I was. Don't fight for medals. Fight for people. She read it twice. Then again. The words tasted like rust. Who the hell were they? That night she couldn't sleep. The house creaked in the cold, but there was something else, the wrongness, like static before a lightning strike. She was halfway to grabbing the Glock from her duffel when the knock came. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. She opened the door with the safety off. The man standing there was older, mid-60s, dressed like a schoolteacher, but there was nothing gentle in his posture. His eyes scanned the street behind her with the lazy sharpness of a predator too experienced to rush. Captain Monroe? He asked, low voice, no smile. Who's asking? He held up both hands. Empty palms, no sudden movements. Samuel Cross. I worked with your grandfather. She didn't lower the gun. What do you want? I'm not here to hurt you. Just here to deliver a message. And an offer. The name clicked in her brain. She'd seen it once or twice, tiny footnotes in her grandfather's stories. Samuel Cross. Supposed to be dead. Cross looked around, then stepped inside without waiting for permission. His movements were efficient, economical. This wasn't a meeting. It was a recruitment. You ever hear of Silent Storm? He asked softly, like someone testing ice before stepping onto a frozen lake. She nodded once. It didn't die with Vietnam, he said. It just went dark. We stayed dark. Covert operations nobody wants to admit exist. No medals. No flags. No backing. Just outcomes. His eyes fixed on hers like rifle sights. Your grandfather recommended you. Personally. Told us she's better than I ever was. She's got the stomach for it, but more importantly, she's got the heart. Avery felt something hot twist in her throat. She hated that. Showing emotion here felt like weakness, like slipping in mud with boots on. What kind of operations? She forced out. Cross's mouth curled just slightly. Not a smile. Something colder. The kind where the people you save will never know your name. Where politicians disavow you before you fire the first shot. Where the monsters wear uniforms, titles, sometimes even medals like yours. He glanced toward the kitchen table, the journal open like a wound. This isn't about service. It's about sacrifice. You don't do this for applause. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the wind rattled the old gutters like bones. Finally, Cross leaned in. His voice dropped to a whisper. Are you ready to stop fighting for permission and start fighting for purpose? Avery looked down at her calloused hands. The shaking had stopped days ago after the desert. But inside, she still vibrated with something electric, like a fuse waiting for ignition. Why me? She whispered. Because you don't flinch, he said. And because you still care. That's rare. Most of the good ones forget how. The weight of her grandfather's words pressed down on her shoulders. Don't fight for medals. Fight for people. Avery's jaw tightened. I don't do ghosts. I don't do black flags. And I sure as hell don't do missions that leave civilians in body bags. Cross met her fire with something like respect. Then write your own rules. Silence again. But this time it was different. He was giving her a door. Whether or not she stepped through, that was hers alone. I choose my team, she said finally. Voice steady. Like steel being forged. I choose the missions. And I don't disappear unless I say so. Cross nodded once, like a general accepting terms from an equal. A good, he murmured. Because they're already watching you. And soon they'll come knocking. Better to answer standing up. Then he was gone, like a ghost folding into the darkness, the faintest outline of him swallowed by the shifting rain. Avery stood there for a long time, the cold of the doorway pressing against her bare arms, the journal heavy in her hand. In that moment, medals didn't matter. Only the war that was coming. And this time it wasn't for country. It was personal. Legacy in the shadows. Rain hammered the tarmac of a military airfield somewhere in Eastern Europe. No flags, no insignias, just steel hangars and shadowy figures moving like ghosts aware of their own disappearance. Avery Monroe stepped off the plane, hood up, eyes sharper than ever. They said no one knew about Silent Storm. They were wrong. The powerful did. The ones selling arms under the table, trafficking lives like stocks on the market. They spoke of Silent Storm in hushed tones, like a rare disease no one knew if they'd soon carry the symptoms of. Avery was no longer alone. She had kept her promise. First Elena, a Bulgarian sniper, dismissed from her units for authority problems. Then Malik, an Algerian scout, rejected for insubordination. Then Esther, a former Israeli hacker even Mossad couldn't break. Each carried scars of being considered too much, too headstrong, too defiant, too honest. They were broken pieces. Faulty weapons for official armies. Gems for Avery. The outside world ignored them. But in the damp alleys of Sarajevo, the basements of Ankara, and the black markets of Bangkok, rumors spread. They come at night. They shoot without missing. They take nothing but hostages. Their first missions earned no medals. No ceremonies. But they saved lives. A child snatched from a human trafficking convoy in Istanbul. A school protected from an imminent paramilitary assault in northern Nigeria. Intelligence stolen from powerful men who thought their crimes buried with their victims. Every time Avery pulled the trigger, she didn't think of her superiors. She saw her grandfather's face, not as he was in pictures, young, proud, ready for battle, but as his letters showed him, worn, guilty, haunted by silence. He never wanted her to repeat his mistakes. But he left her the choice. Sleepless nights sometimes brought Samuel Cross back, like a shadow glued to her steps. You wanted this fight, Monroe. Now you carry it. To the end. And she did. One evening, in a damp hangar in Poland, a sweating informant whispered a truth heavier than all the bullets they'd dodged. There's a list, he breathed in Polish, trembling hands. Names. Children. Taken, sold, broken. And at the top, men your governments decorate. Avery felt a cold rage rise. Not a bright anger, no. A slow, steady, methodical determination. The kind that never fades. She hunted those names one by one. With Esther, hacking the most secure diplomatic servers. With Malik, crossing borders in fake uniforms. With Elena, stalking, aiming, shooting, always one shot, always a release. And never for honor. Only children brought home, innocents torn from shadows. But also threats. Anonymous letters. Contracts on their heads. One night, after freeing hostages in Ukraine, Elena whispered, "You know we'll never be more than ghosts to them." Avery answered without hesitation. The ghosts protect better in the shadows than heroes under spotlights. The rain started again. One day, between missions, Avery did what her heart had pushed away for months. She returned to the U.S. Not for herself. For him. The military cemetery was empty under gray skies. A simple grave with an anonymous inscription. The unknown hero, Vietnam War. She understood. It was not forgetfulness. It was a choice. To disappear in order to save others. She placed the journal on the stone. Raindrops soaked the leather, the pages, slowly washing away the ink, as if the past finally agreed to be cleansed. She stood there still, for a long time, jaw clenched, heartbeat steady under her ribs. She thought of all the medals received, all useless against this naked truth. Courage is not what you display. Courage is what you bury. Her fingers trembled slightly. Then she whispered, calmer than she had ever been. Your war ended. Mine just began. And when she turned to walk back into the world that didn't want heroes, one thing was clear, she was no longer a soldier. She was a storm. Invisible. Silent. But unstoppable. The story of Avery Monroe is not just about battles won or enemies defeated. It's about the quiet strength that lives beyond the battlefield, the courage to stand when no one is watching, to protect those who cannot fight, and to build a legacy that no medal can capture. The silent storm lives on in every shadow, in every whispered act of justice. Because true heroism isn't about glory. It's about the relentless fight to make the world safer, one secret mission at a time. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey into the heart of the silent storm. If you were moved by Avery's story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's more courage, mystery, and inspiration coming your way. Become part of the legacy. Stay strong. Stay silent. Stay unstoppable.